This week on the Rochester Press Box from Salvatore's Pizzeria at the Garage Door Restaurant.
I'm Keith Friel, and I'm going to be addressing why NCAA athletes, big-time athletes, college basketball and football should be paid a stipend.
Hi, I'm John DiTullio. I'll tell you the guy Boston College should pick up the phone and to at least gauge his interest in becoming their next head coach.
And I'm Mike Catalana. I'll tell you about a guy who helped me fall in love with the game of basketball.
I'm Bill Pucko with the story of a modern-day Job. Join us on the Rochester Press Box this week. The Rochester Press Box is brought to you by Salvatore's at the Garage Door, Rochester's choice winner for Best Pizzeria, featuring Wacky Wing Wednesday and the Super Slice. It's as big as your head. The games are always on at the Garage Door, home to the Rochester Press Box. Hello, everyone, and welcome into the Rochester Press Box here at Salvatore's Pizzeria at the Garage Door Restaurant. I'm Bill Pucko, joined as always by John DiTullio, sports director of the mighty WHTK.
Good to be here.
Mike Catalana, 13 WHAM News, Fox Rochester. What story are we going with?
You mean for what?
the
for the stitches?
Back from the front.
Brawled with a hockey player.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Shows good judgment. And Keith Friel, our resident basketball expert, assistant coach of the Rochester Razorsharks, and whose brother has got his assistant coach with the Albany team that got itself into the big draw. Congratulations to the family.
Thank you. Yeah, proud brother. Big win. Now taking down the Gators down in Orlando. Going to be a good one.
Yeah. Well, to talk a little bit about him, now Jeremy is, as reading up on him, he's responsible for bringing all these Australians into Albany. How'd that happen?
Yeah, we got a good family friend that he played with, and then another guy that I played with overseas. And Australians are very family-oriented, and a lot of times they can't visit the campus. So what they do is, if you get one over here, then the word of mouth spreads. So now they got 4 on the team, and I guess just a joy to coach, and obviously got some talented kids to win the league again, and 4 times the last 8 years going to the dance. So
very nice.
Yeah, I'm happy for them.
But look, it's NCAA tournament is the top item. Give us an overview. What do you think in general of things as we get this underway?
A free-for-all. I mean, I can't wait for this first rounds to start. I mean, you got anything. I wouldn't be shocked to see 2 seeds go down right now, 3 seeds. When you're coming out, and I know people are in shock with Michigan State, and people are loving, now all the pundits coming out loving Michigan State, as they should, in terms of their preseason top 5 team. They got Payne back healthy again, and they showed in the Big Ten championship their dominance when they're healthy. I think they're a force to be reckoned with. But also there's a lot of teams that I think that are underlooked. A lot of the West Coast teams that people don't watch are on at midnight, 11, the Mountain West. I like New Mexico as a sleeper. I know a lot of people, they got size, they got guys that can shoot it. There's just so many different areas to go in. And of course if I wasn't be lying if I'd say Virginia won the ACC. I mean, they've been rolling. That Tony Bennett's got them on a tear defensively, and that's what I like about them. That translates to whatever environment they're in.
Cool, Johnny?
Well, I think it's, each year we see where just about anybody can win it. I mean, we don't have a Kentucky from a few years ago or a North Carolina who won it with Tyler Hansbrough. I think this year, more so than ever, it is so wide open. We could see, last year we saw Wichita State, a 9th seed. I wouldn't be surprised to see Oklahoma State, a 9th seed, get there. I think this year it is wide open, and that's what makes the tournament so special.
A lot of this is the result of the one and dones, don't you think?
Oh, they're absolutely. And when you look at teams like Kentucky's a good example. Immensely talented team like Kentucky always is. I don't think they can win 6 games and win a championship, but you can't tell me that there isn't a team out there that they could not beat in 1 game. So when I look at this tournament, I don't see that big of a difference between the 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s. And in the same way, I don't see a big difference between, say, the 5s and the 16s. I mean, I'm telling you, it depends on matchups, depends on who you get. But I don't think in any individual game you can look at and say there is 0 chance or no chance or such a limited chance. Now, the question is a team good enough to win and win the championship? As it gets down to the Final 8 and the Final 4, that'll all play itself out. But any one game, it's wide open.
Who you got?
To win it all?
Yeah.
I've got Florida. My Final 4 are Florida. I went with 2 ones, Florida and Arizona, because I don't really like that bracket as much. Then I went with the hot teams, Michigan State and Louisville.
All right, and win it is?
I'm going to go with Florida to win it all.
And Keith?
I got Florida winning it all. I just think their senior leadership, they're tough. They've been there. I've been watching them all season, the way they've handled themselves on the road, winning in the SEC adversity. Every game in and game out, they find ways to win. I know they were up 10 in the SEC championship, and still they battle back. They found a way to win. I like them winning it all. I got them beating Virginia in the Final Four, and then I like Arizona over Louisville on the other side.
All right, Johnny, the two Floridas on this side.
Well, I've got Florida, I've got Michigan State, I got Arizona, and I got Wichita State. Yeah. 34-0, and one of the most underrated coaches in the country, in Greg Marshall.
And a winner?
I've got Michigan State beating Arizona in the finals.
Okay. And in mine, nobody had any of mine then. I've got Kansas to win it all. I like Iowa State, Creighton, and Duke in the Final Four.
Let me tell you, Wiggins could carry a team to the championship. I think he's that talented,
If this
especially
other
if
kid-
Embiid comes back.
And that's the thing, is Wiggins has had the chance to play without him. If he comes back and they're playing together, and they can put it together, I think that quickly,
See, that's
Kansas is going to be
that's why I don't have Kansas going that far, because of the injury to Embiid and the size, and they can run into someone. Mexico's got a 7-footer in the middle that can expose them, and if they get hot. So I know Embiid's supposed to be back for the Sweet 16 game. That's the difference maker with them.
We're in the press box at Salvatore's Pizzeria at the Garage Door. We'll be back and wrap up NFL free agency after this. Welcome back to the Garage Door Restaurant, Salvatore's Pizzeria here. This is the Rochester Press Box, just down the road on East Ridge Road. Arthur Treacher's is now open for business. We're pleased about that. NFL free agency, Mike, you weren't here last week, so we missed your insights. Now that we've wrapped it all up, how did it all shake down to you?
Here's what I like in free agency. I like when a team goes out, fills some holes, but doesn't try to fill the need, as in saying, we need a corner, we're going to go spend a fortune on a corner. Look, I don't mind the way the Patriots did it with Revis, because I think he's a great player and it's a one-year deal, and if it doesn't work out, it's technically 2 years, but it's really a one-year deal. Those moves I don't mind. I don't love what the Denver Broncos did. I understand that where you are with Manning and his career. I don't like the players specifically they brought in. I get the all-in and spend the money. I don't think that works as well. I like kind of the under-the-radar type moves. I like filling those holes and drafting for what you really need going long-term. So I don't like the teams that win in March. I guess that's the best way I would say it. I don't like when everybody says they're winning, they're the best ones. I don't really mind what the Bills have done so far. I don't love it like I think they're a playoff team now, but I don't mind what they've done. I'm a little concerned with the right guard because I don't know exactly how good he is, but I I don't mind what they've done so far.
Our buddy Sal Mairana really loved the
which is
Bills
amazing.
moves.
Well, I love the spikes move. It's it's low risk, high reward. 1 year, $3.25 million. Chris Williams, I can't stand the move. I think he's been a Swiss cheese player for the Bears and for the Rams. But the Bills added Keith Rivers. I think what they've added are some starters and some depth to some key positions. No doubt about it. Now they can address some other needs in the draft, wide receiver. But I kind of like what the Broncos. I kind of like Elway just saying, you know what, I've got maybe a year or two left with Elway. I got Talib at corner. I may have overpaid. I understand. DeMarcus Ware at defensive end, they need to rush the quarterback. I think he just sent a message to Peyton Manning. We're all in. We're all in this year. And Emmanuel Sanders, to me, is not much of a drop-off. If not, they may have upgraded at wide receiver instead of losing Eric Decker.
I guess when you look at it for, say, next year, and that's really what you're looking at with them, it's fine. For most teams, to give that kind of money to a guy with declining skills like Ware, who's hurt a lot, Talib banged up a lot, too. He's a guy who's had trouble on and off the field. If they would have waited 10 minutes, they might have been able to get Revis, too, which would have been a better deal.
Keith, Spikes is a guy who's got a reputation, bad guy. You bring him into a locker room. How much of a threat is that to?
I don't think so. I don't think it's much of a threat. Like you said, it's 3.2 for that talent level. I mean, that's what you're paying for, is that risk. And his talent level, he was a difference maker for the Patriots. Like, make no mistake about it. They had to bring in the guy from the Seahawks, which I like that addition for the Patriots. Yeah, Browner. He's a stud. That's another difference maker. That's another pickup for the Pats I like. And even with, I'm gonna have to agree with John on this. I like the Broncos going all in. Elway, these are our chips. How many more years we got with Manning? Like, you got the money. You're thinking more of like a Bills mentality, and the Broncos right now. I'd go all in too.
I guess my issue isn't the all in. My issue is the guys they brought in, the individual guys. I think that's. I don't know if how much Ware has left. And I don't know how Talib fits there as much. I think they could have done it with guys that might have helped him more. Again, a little patience. I think they could have had.
And T.J. Ward may have been one of their most underrated signings. The safety they got from the Browns. They need back end to help Denver.
The guy who gets the biggest contract and the most years on it is Jarris Byrd. And for all those people who said, the Bills should have re-signed him, you look what it cost him. Saints had to let go of Sproles, send him to Philadelphia, who now are talking about trading Jackson.
Yeah, I don't
to
think
pay for Sproles.
Yeah, I don't think the Jackson's got. It's not a money thing at all. They have plenty of cap room. That's more of a fit in the locker room type thing. I love Jarris Byrd. I'm glad he got paid. Mm-hmm. I think they overpaid for him, but sometimes teams have to do that if you want a certain guy.
But if the Bills sign Byrd, there's all these other things they can't do. It makes perfect sense in hindsight. Like it or not, when we return. Welcome back to the Rochester Press Box here from Salvatore's Pizzeria, Garage Door Restaurant, East Ridge Road in Irondequoit. Wacky Wings Wednesday, live music every Friday, great sports bar. Like it or not, Keith, Indiana's refusal to play in the, the basketball tournament.
The CBI?
The third tier.
There's a couple. There's the CBI and the CIT. We got to get them all.
There's four now?
CBI,
Oh, yeah.
I think it is, yeah.
College basketball.
Well, so Indiana's too good for this. Like it or not.
I mean, you guys are coming off on that as an arrogance thing. I'm coming from a player's perspective. When we got snubbed by the NCAA and we got invited to the NIT, the whole mood in the locker room when we got snubbed, I mean, it was just like someone had been shot. Because you focus, you're there summer school, you're giving everything you have to get in, then you don't get in. It's such a letdown, and you've been working all year nonstop for it. The countless hours, the guys, they're deflated. Now you got to send me to what we're going to play, Boise State, at Boise State now, and it's going to be our spring break, the 1 week we get off. I'm gonna have to say I like, in terms of Indiana's, not an arrogance thing, but as guys hey, we deserve better, we shoot for better, let's get back in the drawing board.
Is spring break the tipping point?
All day. I'm a beach guy. Bill. I got it.
On your resume, Tom Crean. You open up the media guide 20 years from now. CBI, really? I agree
But
with
isn't
Indiana.
any game better than no game?
No, I don't think so, and not for Indiana. And let's face it, if it's about arrogance, they've got it in full force because Tom Crean is their coach,
Yes.
right? I mean, it's Tom Crean, the Harbaugh train there. There's plenty of arrogance there. I don't think that's why it is. And if I'm Indiana, I refuse that. Years ago, there were teams that would refuse the NIT. Yeah. And I think it is, depending on what kind of team you have. If you got this young team, has never been in it, you get a chance to play in any game, then I'm with you. Indiana in that tournament, and you got to pay your own way. No, I'm not doing it.
Those kids
What
are going to
happened to
remember
them?
Panama City for that week way more
Well, they
than
were
the
a
CBI.
1 seed last year,
Last
right?
year with Oladipo and
It's a huge
Zeller,
letdown. They were
had-
tough.
That's what happened.
That's
to
what
them.
happened. He lost 2 players to the NBA.
Mike, like it or not, Phil Jackson to New York.
Look, I like it in this sense because it's Phil Jackson, and because maybe if Dolan will just get out of the way, maybe it will help. Well, certainly that would help if he got out of the way. I don't particularly like Phil Jackson as the guy with all the basketball decisions, only because he can do that because he knows the game if he's got the guy to do the real work, the dirty work behind it. Can Phil say, LeBron, I want you to come to New York, or Kevin Garnett, or Kevin Durant, or somebody like that? Can he have that to bring him? Absolutely. It's going to help him in that way. He ain't hanging out at University of Albany scouting players. I mean, that's not what Phil Jackson, even though he did play for the Albany Patroons, he's not going to be doing that. I like it in the big picture. I think he's going to have a really tough time building a champion if he's going to build it around Carmelo. That's just my opinion.
Mr. Nick?
Steve Mills will be the guy who will go to Albany and will go to Australia to recruit, and then show him the tape. And then Phil will make his money in 2015 when $50 million comes off the books and he has all this money to play with. And then you throw around the Jackson cachet and you throw the line out and see what kind of free agents you could get to come to New York. He'll make his money in summer of 20. Next year they're going to stink. Summer of 2015 is why they hired Phil Jackson to basically coach and run the Knicks.
And quickly, Johnny, the baseball season's opening on Australia. Like it or not.
If I was commissioner, stop this. I hate when they open out of the country when they're 72 hours or 80 hours ahead of us. Why can't we go back? This is where the purist comes out of me. Years ago, they used to open up in Cincinnati every year on a Monday or Tuesday, and then the rest of the season opened the next day. If they want to go to Australia at some point during the season, knock yourself out. Just don't open the season over in Australia. I don't want to see Clayton Kershaw pitching at 4 in the morning. I'm sorry, I'm not staying up for it. or waking up for it.
Well, you have tough hours anyway. Of course, Cincinnati, the tradition being that Cincinnati is the oldest existing club, and it was one of the great baseball traditions that they did away with. You're right, it's a real shame. Unfinished business when we return. Rochester Press Box here from Salvatore's Pizzeria at the Garage Door Restaurant. Unfinished business, John.
This past week, Boston College fired Steve Donahue, who made a name for himself at Cornell a few years ago when he got them to the Sweet 16. Well, he's out at BC. If Boston College is smart, they'll interview a bunch of guys, but I think there's one guy for the job. And this past week, he's getting the itch to coach again. His name, Jim Calhoun. 3 national titles at UConn, built a program basically from the ground up. This week he said he's been inspired by Larry Brown, who's over the age of 70 and did a fabulous job at SMU. Also, if Calhoun does come back, get UConn to the ACC, kind of reunite forces with Pitt and his old friend Jim Boeheim. Listen, Boston College has been irrelevant for years in college basketball. If they want to get relevant and they want to get a Hall of Fame coach who knows how to win, knows how to recruit the Boston area, who's a bigger chowderhead than Jim Calhoun, who started his career at Northeastern back in the early 1980s. I mean, this is goodwill hunting. This is perfect for Boston College, and hire Jim Calhoun. At least pick up the phone and give him a call.
Yeah, that's if they decide that they don't want Jeremy Friel, right? That's their new head
shameless
coach.
plug.
I mean, BC is already in the AC. You could have BC and you would have Calhoun and Boeheim in the same conference. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
How long is that going to last?
I would love to
6
reunite.
months?
I just think I would at least pick up the phone and at least gauge his interest. That's all.
Good.
All right. My unfinished business, I'm actually going to touch upon the NCAA and paying Division I athletes, in particular, football and basketball. We got to stop calling this amateurism. At this level, everybody, that's all we're talking about, NCAA tournament. When coaches are making close to $6 million a year and you have your players 12 to 13 guys on scholarship, yet for Christmas they can't or don't have enough to fly home to see their families for the 2 days that they're allotted, there's a problem. I'm not talking big bucks. I'm talking, give the guys a stipend. I know they're talking Pell Grants, but there's certain players like myself. I'm one of 5 kids. My parents apparently made too much money for me to qualify for a Pell Grant, yet I couldn't afford to fly home for Christmas. So every year I spent 2 days in the dorm by myself. Now there's a problem with that. There needs to be a certain issue, whether it's a stipend, apply for, that they can get a flight to get back. But when your coach is making multi-million dollars a year and we're the product, that is a professional athlete.
That's why we love having you here, because you've been there and done these things, Keith. Mike?
I'm going to be a little personal here, and we're talking basketball. I was one of those kids, probably like Keith, as a young kid, I got to play for my dad. But my dad was a great father, but didn't really know basketball all that well. Enter a man by the name of Bob Peisel. Now, none of you would know who he was, but if you were from around Philly or around that area back then, Bob Peisel was a guy from Haverford, Pennsylvania, who was a coach, who was a scout, who happened to move to our little town in New Jersey and wanted to help with basketball. Taught my dad everything he knew about the game to help him coach, and then eventually became my coach. It's how I fell in love with the game. Well, Bob Peisel used to tell us stories about coaching against Wilt Chamberlain in summer leagues, when Wilt used to have a toothpick in his mouth when he was a high school kid at Overbrook High. He helped Haverford High School win its last state championship in 1970 as what they called the Midnight Rider. He'd come help the team out with scouting. This man loved basketball more than anyone I know. I went to the Palestra in Philly to watch Notre Dame play, and he brought John Shoemate over, and John Shoemate says, "Hi, Mr. Peisel, how you doing?" That impressed the 10-year-old kid, I can tell you that. Bob Peisel passed away this week, and he's up there with my dad right now, and they're talking hoops. He's telling them everything he knows. He's telling them how excited he is, and he's telling them how much he loved them because they were best friends. It's personal for me, but it's what made me love basketball, especially at this time of year. Rest in peace, Bob Peisel.
Excellent. They connect you, you connect us.
Exactly.
Well done, Mike. You remember Job, Old Testament character? He was put through, God put him through hell on earth to demonstrate his faith and belief in God. Which seems like sort of a sadistic practice if you ask me. Modern day Job is Jim Kelly. Jim Kelly, like Job, prior to his being tested, had the world on a string. Great quarterback at college, first round draft pick, great Hall of Fame football career. He has a son who was born with a terminal disease, dies at age 8. And Jim Kelly contracts cancer, has the left part of his jaw removed. We think maybe he's past that, and then Rick Riley of ESPN writes an article with Jim Kelly where he describes how he's in constant pain, can't sleep, the pain is so bad, and last week, the cancer returns. If it's me, I just say, shoot me now, I've had it. But Jim Kelly is taking the high road, he's saying, I'm going to beat this thing, it's just another challenge in my life. If you remember the Bible story, Job, is a happy ending for Job. He gets everything back and his faith is restored in life. We can only hope that there's somehow a happy ending in all of this for Jim Kelly. We record the Rochester Press Box here at Salvatore's Pizzeria at the Garage Door Restaurant every Wednesday afternoon at 12:30. We invite you to come down, have lunch, meet the guys. John, thank you very much.
Billy,
as always.
good
Mike,
stuff.
good story. Keith, as
Thanks
always,
for
thank
having
you
me.
very much. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week.